Live. We are live on Facebook. Kick it off, Jason.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on another call of How to Speak Maintenance. I'm really excited about this call. This call, I've got a lot of passion behind this topic, and I'm pretty excited to be able to talk to two of our guests. We got Christy Rodriguez from Judwin Properties and Jimmy McClung from Luma Residential. So thanks everybody for joining.
Hey there.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. So on our last call, we talked about HVAC preventative maintenance. We talked about being proactive versus reactive. I think that's super important. In the end, if you think about it, I mean, we all want to go home and enjoy our work-life balance. And if we can do anything we can to be able to prevent maintenance emergencies or issues after hours, I mean, PM work is going to do that for you, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Jimmy, what do you, I mean, how much passion do you have behind PMs? I mean, tell me about what you do for Luma and how you, walk your communities and make sure things are getting done.
Oh, so within Luma Residential, we do have a very proactive approach on PMs. We do interior PMs, exterior PMs, mechanical preventative maintenance PMs, and HVAC. As far as like an introduction, I've been with Luma Residential for 16 years this year. I was on site from moving from porter through all the way through the ranks and all the way up to where I am today. I cover a lot of risk management and safety with Luma Corp, and also take care of all of our great regionals that we have, and Cherry Jordan mainly. So yes. That's
awesome. No, it's all about being proactive, and it sounds like you're all about being inspecting what you expect, right? Yes,
you have to inspect what you expect always. And if you don't have ways to back up what you expect, so you have to have some type of systematic processes set up, whether it be computerized or on paper. We still use a lot of paper for our PMs, and we set a lot of goals for our guys, and we inspect those. We inspect those properties 2 times a year, checking on all that stuff. So, excuse me.
That's awesome. And Christy, why don't you tell us what you guys do at Judwin Properties and how important PM work is for you guys?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you guys for having me on as the management representative in the maintenance world. It's an honor to be here. And I would just say, again, my name is Christy Rodriguez. I'm with Judwin Properties here in Houston. And, being on the management side of things, I will just tell you, doing many takeovers and dispositions, acquisitions in my career, I think it's so important and crucial as a management team to really understand the property and analyze the property holistically as a whole as you begin to approach a PM program or preventative maintenance program, to determine, what that work really needs to entail. I think we kind of have sometimes, a bigger picture approach of what the necessities that have to be done, but every property has something specific to it. As the management folks know that are taking those service requests on site, there are sometimes certain properties that have, characteristics and opportunities and challenges that come along with them. So we think it's so important to really, consider that. And the management team is really a crucial piece of that, understanding as you look to put your programs together.
No, that's really important. I like what you said. It's not cookie cutter, right?
Right.
You have to make sure it's prescriptive per property. So that's really important. So, hey, Jimmy, last time we spoke, you talked about HVAC and recruiting the residents and having them help you before the season started. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Sure. So we do heating season and cooling season. So being proactive, we try to send out email blasts, getting everybody to turn their units on, especially during heating season. whenever you're getting those, it's burning the dust and stuff, all of the heating elements. And then all of a sudden you start getting these calls at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning because that's when the cold front hit. Or the same with air conditioning, whenever around March or April, you can kind of feel when the weather's coming up and the temperatures are going up. And that's when it's time to send out that blast. And, you don't want to turn them on when it's 60 degrees, but you kind of got to feel it out and get to that point. And that's the day you do it. And everybody turns them on to make sure they work, and prior to that, condenser coils are not something that we wait and clean in May, June, and July. You have to be very proactive on that. In your downtimes during the summer, in the wintertime, when it's not so busy through January, February, March, especially into February, March, and starts warming up a little bit. In Texas, you never know what it's going to do. We have 90-degree days. And, we could get a freeze too, so you don't know. But anyways, getting that stuff done before the heat comes is very important, because if you don't, you're just going to end up with a bunch of call outs and stuff that you shouldn't have. So condenser coil cleans, checking, low voltage wiring, just doing a real good thorough inspection inside and outside, and having the residents help you do that. So.
And you can check out the first episode of How to Speak Maintenance. It's in the comments with a link to that video, and it's all about HVAC and preventative maintenance. So if you didn't get to see it live or in the replay, you can still check it out now.
Yeah, no, that's great. We talked about prescriptive PMs, right? So Christy hit on that. And if you look at a property and you look at all the different PM work that needs to be done, it could be kind of daunting, right? I mean, it can be a little overwhelming. So, I mean, it almost feels like everybody needs to be a part of it. Christy, you had talked about even having the office as part of the PM program. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so I think it's so crucial as leaders, you look at your team, right? And one of the things that you evaluate and when you're, building a team even, or, acquiring a team is, what are the different strengths? And everyone has strengths, but some of the PM work is so simple and so, things that can be done when, for instance, a leasing professional is going to walk their tour route for the day, and they're walking by the pool gate, or making sure that that's working well, taking a notebook or an iPad if you're paperless, and making notes about different things that you see along the way. I think it's important as leaders, and in the management side specifically, and also the service team and the service supervisors, and they look at their team and they go, okay, who's strong at what, and making sure that we have delegated those tasks out and spread out the love is what I like to say, spread the love. It shouldn't fall to just one person. I think oftentimes, the management team is so focused on getting the PM checklist done that, they hold the maintenance lead accountable to that. And then the maintenance lead assumes all that responsibility and says, I got to get all this done. And, they check everything off. And I think it's important that this is a team approach and that everyone has a part to play and has a piece of it. And I think, and when you look at it that way, then it doesn't all fall on one person and everybody's working together more collaboratively on the entire PM program.
Right. No, that's awesome. I love the team approach. Sometimes our supervisors, like you said, kind of feel like it's all on them and they have to be the ones that accomplish all of it. But if you have 20 exhaust fans up on your roof and you have boilers and you have cooling towers and all this stuff, it could get overwhelming. So, Jimmy, what are your thoughts on, dividing the tasks up among your entire team, maybe even having a make-ready tech if you have them within your company, having them be a part of it?
So there's so many different guidelines that Luma Residential have, and we have so many different guidelines on, from interior preventative maintenance, like I said at the beginning, to exterior preventative maintenance and just mechanical and HVAC and light checks. And you got irrigation checks, and you got quarterly filter changes and monthly PMs and interior, you just got all of that stuff. And you've got to learn how to delegate it and chunk it out. And you can even delegate stuff to the office. I mean, office staff can do light checks. Office staff can go out and walk a building and do an exterior preventative maintenance checklist. You know, there's nothing worse than deferred maintenance, because sometimes I think it's better for office, honestly, to do exterior preventative maintenance, because whenever, you know, sometimes service is doing that, they might not want to write down all they see because they know it's more work, and then it ends up deferred maintenance, right? So you got to break it all down, spread it out. You know, one thing I always hear is that it's not, everybody doesn't do things like you, Jimmy. So, but I always try to teach the things a certain way. And if they want to do it that way, then they can do it that way. And I pretty much always lined out throughout my week. I just had bins Monday through Friday, and I would put all of the paperwork in those bins, from the preventative maintenance to the exterior to the monthly maintenance, irrigation checks, whatever. And each person on the staff, from the service manager, even me, and service tech, maintenance techs, porters, housekeepers, and maybe some leasing, or, you know, even the manager, they all knew which part they did, and they all knew which day it was in. So those checklists were ready for them in those days. So that's the worst part about it sometimes, is somebody goes, well, now I got to print it out, I got to get it ready and all that. But if you're proactive and you've got it ready for them, and you have a systematic approach to that, it's real simple. They just go pick their paperwork up and they go do it, and they turn it in, and everybody gets the job done as a team.
Well, Jimmy, I have to imagine, Christy, to you too, and Jason, that that team approach also helps the office understand when a maintenance tech isn't available for something, because they can understand that the preventative maintenance work helps everyone long term. Maybe Christy, you can talk about a little bit about how you can sort of train the office to speak maintenance. The reason we're doing this whole show is to better understand all that goes into the job and all the work that happens, and how to be a little more understanding when things like that come up.
I think it's great. I'll speak. I mean, I think, you know, as a management person, and sometimes the management team kind of has a tendency to not be as technical or technically trained on systems. And let's face it, our industry is moving towards, I mean, we've got some beautiful buildings with very intricate systems that can be intimidating, quite frankly, to the office teams. And so one of the things that I really preach on is, you know, when you're walking a vacant, or when the vacant turn is happening, that is a prime opportunity to get some of the PM work done. And oftentimes companies, we have it, you know, vacant unit checklists or make ready checklists, and that's a part of the program as well. And I think it's really coming at it from a curious standpoint, asking questions. Personally, I've learned a lot over the years by just asking questions. The maintenance team want the office team to understand, because guess what? When they speak maintenance and they, you know, can do a better job of interacting with that resident when they're getting that service request, or when they're, you know, writing their service request, it's going to make for a better, improved customer experience in the long run for everyone, both internally and externally. So I think, you know, being curious and asking questions and learning your property, and you know, the office team really has to have a vested interest in wanting to know those things too. And so it's really it's on leadership to really make that a focal point. And, you know, again, I love the whole inspect what you inspect, Jimmy, because I completely agree. It's all about inspecting what you inspect as well. So every time that I step foot on property, I always try to, you know, be a role model for the office team and ask questions I always bring the maintenance team with me, the maintenance leader with me. Let's bring him on the walk when we're going to walk units. Let's bring, you know, let's all do this together and ask those questions to train them and let them see that it's okay to ask questions. I mean, it's okay to not know everything, because I think sometimes the management team feels like they have to be the know-it-all, and it's okay to not know it all. But just to, you know, have a better understanding, it's going to help us all. So I hope that answered your question.
There is something learned anew every day, Christian. I love it the way that you talked about, you know, it helps the office staff learn how to create a work order, and it helps them get it on paper to where we understand what we're supposed to be going and doing. And
right.
With it just, I love that thought. So it's great.
Yeah, I love how this conversation has gone towards our vacant apartments. If you do a solid turn and you do preventative maintenance work, you complete preventative maintenance work in your turnovers. In the end, you're gonna have a better product for your residents, and at the same time, you're gonna minimize those service requests and those emergencies, right? So, for example, snaking a drain during a turn, if you know that you have a bunch of backups and drains that get clogged after a resident moves in, why not do that preventative maintenance? Why not, snake the drain, or like we discussed on the last call, checking your capacitor, right? You guys do that at Luma, correct? Checking capacitors. And
Oh yeah, we check. They pretty much check everything. I mean, we have a make ready checklist that we use that pretty much covers all of that information, and it's not. What a great bit of time, whenever you're trying to, you have your maintenance techs in there and they're doing the make readies, and you're teaching them how to check the HVAC and how to check the heat and how to use the gauges, and it helps promote them too, so they'll get interested and they'll want to take their HVAC and get their EPA and move on up in the ranks. So it's a perfect opportunity for training these guys in heating and air conditioning at that time, not just go in there and change out the bulbs and the faucets. I mean, it's a great time to teach them all the aspects of what maintenance is about. So.
Oh, that's great. I mean, in the end, we have a lot of things that we have to do at all of our communities, right? And we've hit on that. You got booster pumps, we have drains that need to get PM'd. But with all this information, it's hard to track it. If you're a small company, maybe you don't have the resources, maybe some of the bigger property management companies have. You gotta find ways of tracking it. So, why don't we talk about that? Let's discuss how you guys are tracking PM work, and how do your teams know what to do and when?
I'll chime in. I have
okay.
I'll tell you what, I came from a very large management company before I came to Judwin, and where we had all the bells and whistles and all the systems, and you know what I mean, all of the software and all of those things. And so when you are in a smaller company, sometimes you're like, well, we don't have all of those things, how do we track it? And I will tell you, here at Judwin, we utilize Google Drive a lot. And just a basic Google Sheets spreadsheet that really tracks daily, weekly, monthly, biannually, annually PM work, and it's paperless. The beautiful thing is you can download the app. Google Drive has an app. It can be downloaded to any device. We do have tablets on site. And so that's one way, but let's face it, there is still the paper, there's something to be said for the paper. We're not quite yet there with our industry yet. That tangible piece of paper is just so awesome. So we do have some maintenance teams that really want that paper. And so they'll, hand do it as well. So we kind of work both ways, and, try to appease to both sides when it comes to that. So I think, really kind of just looking at, what tools can you use and what do you have at your fingertips? I know some of the larger companies have certain softwares they use that are very specific about different tasks that need to happen. So, but that's how we do it here at Judwin.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Google Drive fan. So yeah. But but putting it in a place where everybody has access to it is key. It's crucial. So. Hey, Jimmy, how do you guys do it at Luma?
So we still do some of our processes through paper, which I like because I can inspect it that way and I can tell if you've just been going like a computer. You can actually do that, but nobody can really tell because everything is exactly cookie cutter the same. With looking at it on paper with a pen, you can kind of tell if they've just been checking the boxes, differently because we ask for comments and different stuff out beside that. We also have another systematic approach that we use with our properties is called service checklist, which is weighed out with scores and can affect managers' bonuses and even service managers' bonuses. And it's broken up into two different sections. One section is over processes and another section's over integrity of grounds. They're quite lengthy. It usually takes me and a person that I work with, Jamie Godek, within Luma Residential. Her and I do those inspections together. Takes about four or 5 hours to really do one. And we visit the properties for those inspections, just those two times a year, and one's over processes and then the next one's over integrity of grounds. And we keep that in SharePoint, and that's all kept in SharePoint. So we do some paper, and we use SharePoint a lot where a lot of stuff is kept. I can see us moving more into SharePoint with a lot of other our stuff, but some of it I still like to see on paper. So anyway.
No, I agree. You know, it's important that you have some way of tracking it. I like you talked about incentivizing PM work as well. And that's crucial. I mean, if you're expecting your employees to go do PM work and make sure that the property is running as efficiently as possible, then incentivizing them to want to be a part of it is great. And I think it all kind of ties back to everything, right? If you get the office involved, if you get the maintenance team involved, if you break everything down into chunks, and then you reward good behavior and make sure that everybody is invested in the PM process, then it definitely helps out making sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, like even the service checklist gets everybody involved. It's just not a service manager thing. It's just not a manager thing. And it's just not, you know, it's weighed, like I said, and you start taking away managers' bonuses. They start learning maintenance, and they want to know why, and this is like this, and the reason we're not doing this right. And it helps to get everybody involved. So it's a very big group effort. So.
Don't take my bonus away, Jimmy, please.
Well, it happens, trust me.
There's nothing that gets a manager's attention more than that. So I think that's a great strategy. I might steal it, just so you know.
Yeah.
You take away a monthly bonus, they get back on track real quick.
I bet. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to comment. Piggyback on what you were saying about sometimes you can tell if, you know, it's just been not necessarily doctored. I don't want to use that word, but you can tell that it's not really been thought through some of the tasks. You know, I learned early on in my career, you know, pool maintenance is a huge one, right? And so, you know, testing the water. And so, you know, a great regional maintenance director took me under his wing one time and said, okay, now let me show you these logs and tell you why this could be a red flag. And one of it was, you know, the pH level was the same for all 30 days of the month. Yeah. And he said, there's just no way that could be. Yeah. And so it was a great learning opportunity for me as the supervisor at the time, because I didn't know, like, I don't know, you know, what to look for. And so again, I think, you know, again, it's being curious, asking questions, and even for the management team, you know, when they're reviewing those checklists and reviewing all of the, you know, the PM work that's being done, however it's being documented, asking questions and setting aside a time with your maintenance lead to, you know, go through it. Because they've put a lot of work into these, you know, checklists, and just asking questions, you know. I think it's a great opportunity just to have that dialogue, because sometimes what ends up coming out of those is like, hey, we need to have a capital conversation with the ownership, because we have some issues here. But if the management team is just getting the checklist and then forwarding them over to the corporate office and not really looking at it, they're missing an opportunity to really have a conversation about how to, you know, at the end, make the property operate better, reduce the number of service requests, and improve the resident retention, which is what we all want, because that makes the revenue go up, right? So it all kind of starts there. So I wanted to make that comment because I think it's really relevant.
Yeah, so we spent probably, it's been a year and a half ago, Jamie and I, the person I was talking about, we spent time on every single property. We did what was called manager's pool class. And we went out to every property. It was about a 4 to 5 hour class that we spent with them inside, teaching them safety with pools and all that different stuff. And then we went out to the pool, and we went to the pool room, and we looked at the pumps, and we taught all of the managers all of that, so that they understood whenever something was broke. You know, there's nothing I like more than a manager asking questions, especially to a guy that thinks that he knows it all. And she asks him a question, all of a sudden, how did you know that? So it kind of catches them off guard, you know. So I think that's kind of fun whenever I see that happen. It's great. So.
You know what I really like is you guys keep hitting on one thing that's really important is communication. Is making sure that you're communicating together as a team and working out the PMs together, showing each other what needs to be done and how. Even show the maintenance team how to PM the printer or the copy machine, right?
Exactly.
You know, but in the end, if you're communicating and you're coming up with a plan to implement your PM schedule, then you're going to be more likely to make sure it actually happens. And then you won't feel like you need to doctor any reports, because in the end, right, it's a lot of stuff that we need to go touch. And if you're waiting for that perfect week to happen, right, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't even found that perfect week where it comes up and I've got nothing else to do and I've got plenty of time to go in every single apartment. Right. So it's important to nibble on it and make sure that you're accomplishing pieces at a time and making sure that you're doing it as a team. So I think, Christy, you had hit on the 911 phones, the emergency phones at the pool, yeah, and the office team testing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really easy one, right? So, going up to the 911 phone and testing it, pushing the button. I think management team sometimes goes, oh, I can't touch that, and the reality is yes, and you should be. So testing the 911 phone and, in calling and saying this is a test, just, making sure that it's right, working. That is something that we should be doing, especially it's pool season right now, you guys. I mean, it's the perfect time to be doing that. The gates, I mean, how many times does the management team walk by a pool gate? Are you testing it at a small angle, a middle angle, and a large angle? I don't know the exact terminology, obtuse and all of that. But, the 3 different ways to make sure it closes, right? These are all things that the management team easily can do while they're walking their tour routes or, what have you. But if it's not a part of your program and it's not being, it's just an afterthought, it's not going to be done consistently. So I would say assign that to someone and make sure it's happening. And I think it's really important, though, that, the management team take a vested interest in that. As they're, and utilize your time effectively, right? I mean, you're already walking right by it, might as well do it. So.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about pools. I had this great moment yesterday with this manager, and I've been in Houston the last 4 days, and she's in Dallas, and she called me and says, I need to call somebody, my pool gates aren't working. And I told her, I said, you got a iPhone? And she goes, yeah. So let's FaceTime. And so here we go. And she's FaceTiming, and we're walking over there, and it's got the can't slam on it. It's got the little cylinder, and you turn the cylinder, and that's what makes it close faster or slower, right? So I popped the cover off. I said, don't break your nails, but pop the cover off. So she took the cover off of it. I said, you see that little cylinder? Turn it just a little bit. So she turns a little bit, and I said, now open it and shut it. Because the gate was staying open about that far. So she adjusted it. And whenever she was done, she went, oh my God, I just learned something today. I could teach all of my guys how to fix pool gates. And she was just ecstatic about it. And it was greatness. It just was that moment that she had right then and there. So yeah, pool gates, PMs, teaching people how to do it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, I love those moments where you get to, take somebody into a pump room and show them the system and teach them the basic fundamental, processes, how it operates and how to test it and what to look for. Because when we all have the eyes and we're all looking at PM work and we're making it happen and we're communicating, then our properties are going to be more efficient. We're going to save on expenses, and we're going to make sure that we're tracking things from year to year, because we all know that through turnover, we can lose a lot of information as well. And, somebody retains all the information up in their head and they know what to do, but as soon as they move on to the next community, that's when all that information goes away. So it's important to make sure that it's tracked properly.
It is. And one last thing I'd like to say too, Jason, they're far and few between out there, but there is still some of the properties out there. I imagine there's a lot more than I know of, but that have real good teams and have had the same teams for 4 or 5 years. And those guys could probably tell you when they got to that property, and those guys that are doing their PMs consistently and systematically, after 4 to 5 years, keeping up with all of that stuff and doing it correctly, those properties run so smoothly for them guys, There's not a lot of them, I think, out there left, but there's still sure there's a few property. So guys move around so much anymore. So.
No, I agree.
Nothing better than keeping a bunch of guys together and PMing a property for 5 years. I think you can find some time then to sit around on your rear and do other things like fix the shop, go to the shop and get it good and clean, all that stuff. So
no, it all PM work has a huge impact on the ticket load at the community, the service request load. It has a huge impact on expenses and work-life balance. And that's why I'm a big fan of PM work. I like to go home at night and know that whatever I did during that 8 hours is going to allow me the time to be able to stay at home and be able to sleep and know that nothing's going to, I minimized as much as possible.
Right.
We all know you're not going to get away with it from everything, but
nothing's 100%.
Nothing's 100%. So, but I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that I minimize it as much as possible. So exactly. In the end though, we got to make sure that we're tracking it properly and we're not utilizing some of these, dry erase boards in our maintenance shops. I tried to find a dry erase board. All I could find was this push pin board, cork board. But, I'm a big fan of also getting rid of dry erase boards. And, I don't know about you, Jimmy and Christy, but dry erase boards, I mean, you can wipe your hand on it and be able to delete a bunch of information.
I'm not a fan at all, especially of a dry erase make ready board. I am not a fan. So anyway, that's just me. Everybody does things different. So.
Well, good. What a good lead in, Jason, to next episode of How to Speak Maintenance, getting rid of the dry erase board. And I have the feeling that a lot of people might share your feelings about this. And so we'll look forward to hearing about that. Jimmy and Christy, thank you so much. Jason, awesome. Thank you. I wanted to share that July 14th is going to be the next hint from HR. And spoiler alert, we may all be in the same place, which I don't even know what that will be like, but it could be exciting. And I have to take the opportunity to say happy birthday to Jeff Lowry, past TAAEF president, TAA president, NAA chairman, all around great guy. Happy birthday, Jeff. And
happy birthday, Jeff.
Everybody. All right, thanks everyone.
Happy birthday.
Great. Happy birthday. See you guys. See you, Jason.
Everybody.
Thanks, Becca.